eCommerce is a health and wellness company focusing on natural products that promote calmness, support relaxation, and improve sleep, and informed yesterday that the May sales have materially increased with e-commerce sales up by 45% or $16,000 per day. Following Anthony's presentation, he'll answer any questions you might have, which can be submitted via the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. It's now time to introduce our guest. Anthony, welcome to Direct Connect, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stuart, for hosting this webinar and for the other work that we've done together in Perth at your stock soiree, which was a great event. I highly recommend. So thanks, everybody. Today, I'm just be presenting an update from the Karmaco, ASX code CCO, including our most recent results to the end of May, and a little bit of a look forward to the strategy coming up next year. So obviously, the standard disclaimer and terms and conditions for an investor presentation such as this do apply. So our vision as a company is to become the most dominant kava company in the world. So the Karmaco is all about bringing products to market that help people to be calm and relaxed, stress, sleep, and sports. And our mission is to bring those products to market at the highest quality in an ethical and sustainable way, and to market those products by encouraging consumers to accept new products such as kava and understand their therapeutic benefits and their recreational benefits as well. From a therapeutic sense, our products are about stress, anxiety, and sleep. And these are major problems for people in the Western world. About 3/4 of people experience stress at any given time. And those people who are feeling stress more than often transition to having anxiety, which is obviously the clinical manifestation of a high stress situation. In fact, anxiety disorders are the #1 psychiatric disorders that people suffer from in the US, in Australia, and in Europe. It's the #1 psychiatric issue that people have. Sleep is also highly correlated with stress, and there's a big leakage between people feeling stressed and not sleeping, and also not sleeping and thus experiencing stress and anxiety more significantly the next day. In particular, people who are younger consumers tend to not be treated as well as people who are older consumers in terms of not accessing healthcare, not accessing talk therapy, not talking to a doctor. So for young people especially, stress and anxiety and the associated sleep conditions are a significantly unmet need. So we believe that with our products, which can address all of those issues of stress, reducing anxiety, and improving sleep, we have a significant unmet market need that we can meet with our kava products. And it's not just speculation. Kava has got a significant body of clinical evidence backing it up as a natural medicine for these therapeutic areas. There have been about 11 clinical trials on kava at various doses of kava lactone, which is the active ingredient inside the kava root. And when a meta-analysis looks at those, we can see that people who have mild to moderate anxiety and high levels of normal stress have a significant reduction in their anxiety rating when they take kava. So this is a clinically proven natural medicine that can help people with these issues. Where we've now also started to see significant growth in the company is in the recreational drinking of kava as an alcohol alternative. So we know that drinking alcohol is becoming less popular amongst the younger generation. Between 30 and 35% of people in Australia, the US, and the UK say that they don't drink alcohol in that generation under 30 or the Generation Z. And this is consistent across different markets, whether or not they've legalized cannabis. For example, in the US where cannabis is legal, the number is the same as in Australia and the UK where there isn't access to those other drugs. So this is really not people turning to other drugs. This is people wanting to have a healthier lifestyle. We think this is very highly associated with the health as wealth or lifestyle of health and sustainability positioning that a lot of people have in their lifestyle. And when we look to the younger generation, we see that this trend is going to continue to increase. So if you think about the statistic at the bottom there, from 2007 to 2009, the percentage of people who were in that pre-drinking age, 14 to 17 years old, that were choosing not to drink rose from 40% to about 73%. So that's almost doubling the amount, and almost 3/4 of people now in that younger demographic not wishing to drink. And I think in society, we can see this coming through. And there's a huge category of non-alcoholic beverages that are now starting to tap into that. It's an $11 billion category growing at about 7%. The growth rate for kava products is more like 16 to 20% annual growth rate. So it's a growing part of that growing market segment. And the interesting thing we think about kava is that it really does represent a second generation of non-alcoholic drinks. So rather than just a de-alcoholized wine or a non-alcoholic beer or a spirit flavored cordial, Kava is a drink which people can have, and it does give them that relaxing effect, that physical effect on the body, the benefits of sleeping better, and the relaxing effects of the kava lactone. So we see an active, non-alcoholic drink as being really the second generation that will lead the growth into this no-low alcohol category, which is a huge category already. So our key brands are Fiji Kava and Taki Mai. So here you can see the Fiji Kava brand. It's primarily a brand around powdered drinking kavas, nutraceutical capsules, and increasingly we're also offering accessories around the kava drinking experience. So that's things from obviously apparel. We sell quite a few of the traditional bilo or coconut cup that people consume kava in traditionally. We'll be bringing to market some tabletop and portable blending devices that will allow people to make kava and kava related drinks on the go as part of their lifestyle. So we really want to own the kava brand with Fiji Kava and the kava space in terms of the experience of drinking kava. Moving forward, we're also going to have some products that are about enhancing the flavor profile of kava. In Australia, that's going to be products where we add a flavor as a second product to be mixed with the kava. In the US, under the regulatory regime of the FDA, we're able to blend kava with sweeteners and other flavors. So as we move forward, we'll be able to have those as ready to drink or pre-formulated drinks in the US under Fiji Kava. Our primarily ready-to-drink brand is Taki Mai, and we've just launched in the last 3 months our Taki Mai Kava shop in Coles around Australia with some very promising initial sales results from that. Taki Mai is the original brand that was created by our founder, Zane Yoshida. Taki Mai is the traditional kava brand that we sell to the consumer in supermarket channels and petrol station channels in the Fiji Islands. In that market, we separate the traditional kava for the local consumer under Taki Mai from the Fiji Kava premium price brand, which is present in the resorts and the airports. I'll talk a little bit more about how we separate that later. But Taki Mai will be our ready-to-drink brand, and our Taki Mai Kava shot is that first ready-to-drink offering from us, soon to be followed with a Fiji Rugby co-branded coconut-flavored ready-to-drink shot in the Fiji Islands, and then some further flavored kava shots in the US. So turning to the financial results from the company, we announced yesterday that we had a very good month in May and showing a continued pattern of month-on-month growth now for 10 months. Our revenue acceleration across the year has been quite strong. So for the first half of the year, we did around 1.45 million, which was almost roughly double that same time period of the previous year. For Q3, we topped the $1 million for the quarter, which was about 270% up. And we've already gone past our Q3 results already now in Q4 with the May results. So based on our roughly $600,000 a month run rate, the company's annualized sales are tracking at around about $7 million. And we're considering that will continue to accelerate. The engine driving this growth is our e-commerce strategy. So we've now surpassed $16,000 per day across our various e-commerce channels globally in May. That's about a 500% increase from where we were 12 months ago. The primary driver of that's been the Australian e-commerce side of things, but the US e-commerce side now is also contributing strongly as well. The company's also focused in the last quarter on building our inventory positions. So we're going to continue to be doing that. We're processing between 7 and 10 metric tons of kava every week in the facility in Fiji at the moment. We have a rights issue on foot, which I'm sure shareholders will be aware of. And the major use of the proceeds from that rights issue will be to upgrade the capacity of the factory to around 25 tons, or about 2.5 times the maximum capacity we have at the moment. So we believe this will allow us to keep pace with sales growth up to about 2 or 3 times where we are now, which is well into the future, but maybe around the corner quicker than we think with the growth that we're seeing. So diving into the e-commerce side of things, as I said, topping $16,000 a day across global channels. That's representing Amazon having a very good month. Shopify in the USA is still a small part of that sales, but it is doubling month on month, which is the same pattern that we saw in Australia in the early months. So the signs are good that we can replicate our success in Australia in the US market. And obviously in a population size more than 10 times the Australian population, and in an environment where we can formulate products that taste great, we're going to have, we think, even bigger advantage to taking that market share in the US and growing that new market as well. Amazon.com, we're the #1 instant kava on Amazon. We do think that our good month that we had in Amazon has a bit of a halo effect from the marketing that we've started to do on the social channels and the digital channels in the US for our Shopify. So we know that US consumers do have almost an unholy love of the Amazon platform. So we know that when we market to those consumers, we want them to come to our own fijikava.com site, but a lot of them will then see an ad and go to check on Amazon. We're priced at parity with Amazon, if a little bit lower actually on our site. We're offering all the same terms in terms of free shipping and returns and such as Amazon. So we're doing everything we can to attract customers to our Shopify USA site. As we grow that piece of the business, we're going to be 30% more profitable than when we're on the Amazon platform. And that's just an effect of the fees and charges and the marketing costs on Amazon versus how much better we can do the marketing ourselves. We've also got a relationship with Walmart.com. So Walmart.com lists our products on the Walmart.com portal. That feeds directly into our Shopify site. So we won't be obviously reporting a separate Walmart line. What happens with Walmart.com is that consumers who are Walmart consumers are marketed to by Walmart. They find our products on Walmart.com. They put in an order that looks and feels like they're ordering from Walmart, but behind the scenes, it's our Shopify that actually takes that order, fulfills that order, and everything flows through our fulfillment center in Texas. The vast majority of the sales for the month have come from the Australian side of things, so around more than $300,000 of sales coming from the Australian e-commerce platform, comparing that with around about 85,000 from the US from the Amazon side of things. So very strong growth in Australia, consistently outperforming our expectations every month, and it's a real kudos to our fabulous digital marketing team led by Nadim Bazyar that does this work. We're seeing industry-leading metrics across the board on our e-commerce in Australia. So our return on advertising spend is consistently high, between 3 and 4. Our cost of acquisition for customers is still vastly lower than the marginal revenue that we take in from each customer. And importantly, we're not seeing that cost of acquisition go up very much at all as we broaden the number of customers that we're receiving orders from. So that's a really good sign that scaling may continue for some time in the Australian market. And it's an indication of how big we think the market in the US could become over the next 12 months as we do the same thing in the US with the same strategy, different messaging for the US consumer, of course, but the same overall strategy for how we identify, attract, and bring those consumers in. We're now shifting a little more in Australia as well to LTV, or customer lifetime value driving activities. So that's things like emails. You might find that you're getting lots of emails from us offering product discounts on different parts of the range. There'll probably be something in the realm of a loyalty program type of activity that we start to do. So that's all about enhancing our lifetime customer value and driving sales to our existing database of customers, because obviously we don't have to pay advertising costs to go out and acquire those existing customers. So extracting more value out of them becomes an even more important and more profitable way for us to expand our e-commerce. So that's probably why you've noticed you're getting some pretty interesting and fun emails from the company if you're on our database, and probably see some very interesting and fun stuff popping up on our Instagram, which I encourage you all to follow. And you get to see myself and our founder and lots of members of the team making absolute fools of ourselves to drive sales. Profitable retail is a big part of what we're doing as well. And we think that retail is a great entry point for people to first try the product. So we have a couple of SKUs that we sell exclusively in retail with Coles in Australia. In particular, these are our small, lower cost purchases. So this is about people finding the product for the first time, building trust with consumers when they see that product on the shelf in Coles. We price those small items quite high. And one of the reasons for that is that when people see a price in Coles, they have a tendency to believe that Coles has got the best possible price. So it's a very good anchor for them in terms of the pricing they'll then see on the website. So our 50-gram instant kava, which has been in Coles now for 2 years, continues to be a very strong performer. And since March, we added to the Coles channel 2 other SKUs, our single Tucky My Shot. So you won't be able to buy a single Tucky My Shot on our e-commerce platform. You'll have to buy a case of shots and hopefully a subscription for a case of shots every month from the e-commerce channel. But if you want to try it for the first time, the place to do that is in Coles. And the 150-gram instant kava, which is the major top-selling product that we have in every channel. So the top-selling product on our Shopify is 150-gram instant kava. That's the number 1 instant kava product on Amazon in the USA. And that's our highest value and our best margin product across the whole portfolio as well. So it's really encouraging to see that that's now moving strongly off the shelf in Coles at a slightly higher price point than we offer it to people on the website. So obviously we're hoping that people will move to our website subscription after finding and trying the product in Coles. The other channel that we look at in retail that's very enabling for us is the tourist channel in Fiji. So kava, most people, when you speak to them, haven't heard of kava. We hope an increasing number of people are starting to hear about kava from the work that we've been doing over the last few years. But most people discover kava for the first time when they're on a family holiday in Fiji. So it's really important for us through our partnerships with 3 important retailers in the Fijian market, JAXA Fiji, Tapus, and Prouds. Between those 3 companies, they own the entire tourist channel, from the Port of Denarau tourist shops to the airport shops to all of the embedded stores that are in the resorts around Fiji. So we really want to be the kava that people see when they make their first commercial purchase decision after discovering and trying kava for the first time on holiday in Fiji. And we think, again, this is something that's really important to enable people to discover and try the product and then return back to their home in Australia or the US and make kava a part of their everyday lifestyle through our e-commerce platform. So many people ask if we have enough kava to support the growth that the company's seeing, and the answer to that question is a definitive yes. So to give a picture of that, we process around 3% of the kava that's produced in Fiji at the moment. And we're thinking that we're going to grow that to around 6% of the kava that's produced in Fiji on a per annum basis as we move to the larger 25 tons per week processing capacity. So it's a very small amount of what is a very large amount of kava that's in the market in Fiji. There's about 10,000 growers and farmers of kava in the country. It's about 1 in 8 rural households that are producing kava on some scale. And that equates to about 4,500 tons of dry kava that's produced every year. Now, we process uniquely a green kava, so no one else does what we do. We take green kava directly from the farmer. We process it in our own GMP, FDA approved, HACCP facility so that we have a very, very safe product. And we do that by controlling the way we dry it in a oven and heat pump drying method and some new drying methods. And then we also produce our juice in a aseptic way there as well. So we use green kava. So if you look at that on a green kava basis, it's about 20,000 tons of green kava that's produced every year. Now, these statistics are a couple of years old, and we also know that during COVID, a lot of people returned to their village areas and started to put more kava in the ground when they were out of work over the pandemic period. So this is a conservative estimate for how much kava is produced every year. We think it's even a little bit more than that. And we'll be able to very easily scale up to 25 tons. And you can obviously see that we could even go 20 times bigger than we are now with the kava that's in the ground in Fiji with no problems whatsoever. Importantly, also, the company collects kava from all around the Fiji Islands. And this is critical for us in terms of having a robust supply chain if a certain area in the Pacific is influenced by a weather event. We know that there are cyclones that come through. They can damage crops. What tends to happen is that when a cyclone's coming, people pull the kava out, or if the plants have been damaged, it can still be harvested, but it still may impact one of those areas. So we've worked very hard, in particular, our founder, Zane Yoshida, has worked very hard to set up buying relationships and collection centers around the different kava growing areas in Fiji. So we know that for any given particular weather event, it would not influence our ability to buy kava and to keep processing at full capacity because we could always shift to one of the other areas that was unaffected. In practice, what would probably happen is that the area that was affected would produce a lot very quickly due to the pulling the plants out of the ground, but then would take some time to recover. So that broad network across all the different islands now covers more than 90% of the kava farming regions in Fiji. So we're very confident that we have a supply chain that can both scale and that is secure against potential risks, particularly around weather. And then I think also very important and almost to finish on, we are a business that has an amazing impact for people in Fiji who are growing the kava that we sell. Our founder, Zane, has been very, very passionate about building a business that delivers real fair value back to the farmers in Fiji. We don't work with middlemen. The kava industry is generally quite dominated by a number of middlemen who, to be honest, take advantage of farmers to give them a low price and make the profit as a reseller. So we buy directly from farmers at the farm gate green kava. The farmer doesn't have to process that kava or dry that kava. We buy it straight out of the ground green, which is good for them. We pay a really fair price, but because there are no middlemen, we also have a really good cost of goods compared to people who are buying kava dry on the open market. It's also an important part of our quality system that we know exactly where the kava comes from. We know that it's the right species of kava, and that gives us an added degree of safety in the way that we can present the product to the consumer. We were inspected by FDA last November, and they were really impressed with the traceability that we have for our kava. We have a couple of relationships as well that go over and above just that economic impact, where we do a little bit more with the people in Fiji to make sure that we're really giving back. Most important probably amongst them is our relationship with the Tutu Agricultural College. You can see in this photo here, Zane and some of the members of Tutu here in a large greenhouse that the company recently donated to the Tutu College. Greenhouse allows the college to propagate through what's called single node propagation, our chosen high kava-lactone variety of kava, noble kava from the island of Overlau called Yangonavula Kasalaka, which will not be on the test after the webinar to say that one, but that is the type of kava that we know yields the best product with the best effect for consumers and at a grade that we can also use in our pharmaceutical type products as well. So we donated that greenhouse. They then do single node propagation of that species of kava, and then graduates from the Tutu College then have those kava plants in the ground at the end of their graduation 3 years in. So we estimate that those students graduate with about $200,000 worth of kava in the ground that they own. And they're then sent back to the communities to set themselves up as farmers and hopefully become suppliers to us in the future. We're working with some of the big hardware companies in Fiji to have those initial harvests from the graduates paid back to them, not in cash, but in things like cyclone-proof kit homes and materials required for them to set up their own farming operation. So we think this is a really important relationship for the company. The college does a wonderful work for the boys that they bring in to become farmers. And also we build a relationship with them as kava farmers, growing the species that we need and with their own small businesses starting to build wealth for them. We have an MOU with the Itauke Trust Fund Board, who are also instrumental in that Tutu relationship and many other relationships. The Itauke Trust Fund Board is the peak organization for enabling and empowering the indigenous people in Fiji. They help us particularly with going to farming groups and communities where they maybe aren't at the commercial scale needed to supply us. We generally want to take between 1 and 3 tons of green kava at any given time. So what TTFB have been able to do is put some of those groups together into collective organizations that we can then source from. They could pool their resources to be able to supply to us, which has been really, really good. We have a major investor in the company BSP Life, which is a life insurance company and financial services company in Fiji. And often when we go to visit farms for the first time, our friends from BSP will accompany an officer with us and do simple things like setting up farmers with bank accounts and other financial products that they need to be able to keep their money in the bank, invest that money, medical insurance, life insurance, things like that. And then I think finally, the thing that we're doing, which has really got a big impact for us, is the digitization of our supply chain. So we've completed the digitization of our supply chain on the back end from the quality assurance perspective. It allows us to geolocate, map every farm that we source from. We can trace every product that's in the market in both Australia and the US back to the farm that grew it, which is amazing. And the next step for us on that is going to be able to turn it into something that's a consumer-facing interface where someone can scan a QR code, enter their batch number, and see your kava was grown by this farmer in this village on this day, and have a look at that village and potentially also see some of the activities that are being done in that village for social impact and even contribute to those activities. So a really powerful tool, something that's an important part of our quality assurance system and soon to be, I think, a real competitive advantage from the market sense too, to link customers right back to the farm, which no one else can do. So last but not least, just a look at our team. So our chairman is James Stack. James Stack is quite well known to a lot of people in Australia. He's a person with a big philanthropic background, the chairman of the PCYC. We met James through the Kaiviti Silktails, which is a rugby league team that develops young Fijian men into the NRL. James is the #1 ticket holder for Kaiviti Silktails. We were the naming sponsor for some years. And James agreed to join us around about 2 years ago and has been the chairman, helping us steer the company through the turnaround and the great growth that we've been having recently. Zane Yoshida is the founder of the company and COO. Zane's in charge of everything Fiji, everything to do with the kava farming, government relations. Zane has some very important positions on the Australia-Fiji Business Council and a number of industry organizations enabling business linkages in the Pacific, and works across Fiji and Australia, basically running all the operations of the business. James Tonkin is known as the beverage guru. Jim's had a long career in the US, launched over 1,000 beverages. Some that you might know would be the Arnold Palmer range of drinks, the Zico coconut water. Jim was part of the group that originally took Fiji water to the US as well. So Jim's a absolutely amazingly connected person in the beverage industry in the US and will be an important person to help us take our next steps into ready-to-drink beverages in the US, which we think is going to be the long-term big driver of growth for the company. Griffin Amose is our Fiji resident director. Griffin's the managing director of Kentucky Capital. He manages everything Fiji finance side for us, also our representative person on the board on the ground in Fiji day to day. And then not last but not least, our CFO, Prav Lala. So a lot of what we've been doing to get rid of things that were not profitable and focus on the things that are the most profitable and bring the business results that we've been seeing has been really driven by Prav. Prav's background is in both beverages and agricultural processing. He was previously at Red Bull in New Zealand and worked for a large agricultural processor before he came to meet us, as well as having some deep experience in shipping and logistics in the Pacific. So really all the parts of our business, from ag processing to beverage marketing to shipping and logistics, are things that Prav has in his skill set. So he's been an amazing resource for us and will be in the future to take the business to the next horizon. So thank you very much. Vinaka.
Anthony, thank you. Fantastic presentation, extremely informative. You mentioned stock spire at the very start. I think you bought 160 shots with you. All went within the first 10 minutes and extremely well received. So thanks for that. Although my wife sold on it. Yeah, she's purchased a number of that. So no, you've done really well there. We've had some great questions come in from the audience, so we'll get on to those. Have you had any other discussions with any other major suppliers?
From supply side, we probably got about 300 or 400 suppliers now that are consistent and ongoing suppliers. So we look at that in terms of rotation. We don't want to tap anyone too hard, but we're pretty confident that we've got the right network of suppliers. We've also started initial discussions around what we're calling regional sourcing strategy. So that is going beyond Fiji. It would obviously be in the Takimai brand, not the Fiji Kava brand that we did that. But we do think there is some possibility to bring, in the sense of like the way you have a single origin coffee, we think that there might be in the future for us some interesting products we can do around Vanuatu kava, or there's some interesting kava in PNG as well. It's quite good. Everybody will tell you their kava is the best. We think the Fiji kava is the best. The Vanuatu guys think the Vanuatu kava is the best. But we are looking at that next horizon to potentially source more broadly.
Are there any concerns with the climate change on the Fijian kava plantation, and any mitigation steps taken, including secondary plantations elsewhere?
Yeah, so climate change is a huge issue for the people in the Pacific. I think the brunt of climate change is felt very strongly by people in the Pacific, so we do take it very seriously. Obviously, everything we do is organic by nature, but kava tends to grow on transitional or slopey land, so we're not too exposed to the rising sea levels or loss of habitat around the edges of the island. Kava tends to be a little bit more of a highland crop. So for us, we're pretty confident that we're not going to have too much impact on supply from climate change.
Is there any demographic analysis on customers so far, in particular between Pacific Islanders who are familiar with kava and non-Pacific Islanders?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And the answer to that is that we are really not hugely tapping into the Pacific Island diaspora population. The sales channels that the individual islander populations have are quite informal. They existed prior to kava becoming legal to commercially sell. So we haven't focused too much on that diaspora channel. What we've been building is a business with a new market that we're breaking into, and that's Western consumers. So the very scientific method of looking at the names of the customers on the order list every day tells us that we're definitely very, very mainstream in the people that are buying our products. And the sales growth we've had tells us that we've broken into a new market in Western consumers, both here and in the US. So the demographics are everyday Aussies from all kinds of backgrounds.
And what is the state of your inventory?
Inventory at the moment is still tracking around over 1 million. Obviously, the more we sell, sales come out of inventory, but we're producing at a good clip and we're keeping up with inventory and expanding our inventory position every week.
And another one here that's come in, how is CCO positioned in the US market compared to its competitors?
Yeah, great. It's a great question. So we have an approach in the US market, which we call the top and tail approach. So Fiji Kava itself is priced at about a 40% premium to other kavas in the market in the US. So our instant kava mixes very easily with water, and we have a process for doing that gives us a bit of a product-based advantage, which is what we call instant kava. So we charge more for that instant kava. We're about 40% more expensive than everyone else on Amazon, and we still maintain our #1 position there. We think the Fiji Kava brand itself does some heavy lifting there, but also the quality of the product. And then with our Takimai brand, we do sell Takimai powdered kava in the US on Amazon as well. And we do that at a very price competitive point. It's a more traditional product, so it's a bit cheaper to make, but it's also still a great quality kava, but more targeted towards that economy kind of user. So we've got a position at the top and a position at the tail of the market for those two brands in the powdered kava market.
Outside of Australia and the US, have you got any other marketing strategies?
We're really going to focus on Australia and the US for the foreseeable future. I think the explosive growth that we've seen online in Australia has meant that obviously we're prioritizing inventory going into that market. We're very confident that we're going to be able to keep our inventory level strong and support the same kind of growth in the US, but we're expecting that growth to be an order of magnitude bigger because the market's an order of magnitude bigger in the US. So there's more than enough high value, high margin sales for us in our e-commerce strategy in Australia and the US to keep us very busy for the next couple of years. That being said, Fiji is our home market. It's a very important market for us on the ground, but it's not a huge market, 200,000 roughly people. So we still have a good position in the Fiji market, and particularly in that tourist market, which we think is a great market entry point for people, as I was talking about. So our major focus is going to be Australia, the US, and our home market in Fiji. That being said, there are opportunities in various Asian markets that do come up from time to time, but we don't have any plans to do anything other than stay laser focused on our strategy of Australia, US e-commerce focus.
And you'd say here that kava is the next health trend, but how big can sales grow in the US?
Yeah, obviously that's a question we get a lot. And I think, to be honest, you might have asked the same question to Red Bull when they were marketing an energy drink in the early 80s. It's really a new category. So we feel we're creating a new functional beverage category, and we think that it could be as big as any other functional beverage on the market, be that a Red Bull or any of your other major categories of drinks. So massive billions of dollars.
Can kava be grown in Australia, the US, and other places?
It can. You can grow kava anywhere that you choose to grow kava. However, growing kava is a very labor-intensive process, and it requires quite a lot of skill. So it's a perennial plant that takes between 2 and 4 years to reach maturity, and it's normally grown by farmers in Fiji alongside other crops. So a farmer will typically grow some food crops, some cash crops like ginger and turmeric, as well as kava, and kava being the longest growing cycle of all of those plants. There's a lot of effort and a lot of manual labor required to keep a kava plant healthy. So you could grow a kava plant in Australia or the US, but you would have a much more expensive product than the one that we're able to source in Fiji and the islands.
What's a current growth strategy, and have you got any other new products planned?
Yeah, we do have some new products planned. So our growth strategy's effectively got two elements to it. One is building awareness of the product, and the other one is improving the taste of the product. So taste of kava is quite challenging sometimes for people. In Australia, we're quite limited. We can only sell pure kava powder and pure kava juices in our shops. In the US, we've got a lot more freedom in what we can do. So we've done some work on flavor profiling, and we've got a couple of flavors that we think are going to work really well with kava. I think they're peach, mango, and coconut. So in Australia, what that'll mean is that we're selling a complementary product that you can add to the kava when you mix it to add that flavor in. So that'll be launching relatively soon. In the US, we'll be able to do more traditional formulations. So things like natural sweeteners, the fruit flavors mixed in with the kava so that it's ready to mix or in ready to drink formats. And yeah, as I said earlier, we're also looking at things that are complementary items for kava drinking culture. So the things like cups, blenders, t-shirts, apparel, not huge parts of the business, but very important supplementary income. So this is all about lifetime customer value, taking someone who might just buy a bag of kava every month and making that customer's value higher.
Interesting question coming in. How many units does 25 tons of kava produce?
I just did that maths for somebody. It's 33,150 packs.
And another one here, any plans to start a Fiji Kava social platform for sharing Fiji Kava discussion?
We're pretty welded onto the Meta platforms. We do a lot of our marketing through the Meta platforms. We're past 10,000 users on Instagram, and we've got some pretty good content on there. So I think we're very happy to stick with the Meta platforms where we do a lot of our marketing and try to make the most out of those.
Thanks, Anthony. That's everything that's come in for today. Congratulations on the success so far, and certainly long may it continue. Thank you to everyone for your attendance. There's some great questions come in, so we appreciate those. Like me, I'm sure you got plenty out of Anthony's presentation and answers to some great questions. For more information about the Karma Co, head to the company website. thekarmaco.com.au, or you can follow the company's social platforms as Anthony's mentioned. Anthony, wishing you all the very best. Keep up the great work and look forward to chatting again soon.
Thank you very much, Stuart.